Beep, 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 beep. All that's new and approved from the Jester. Good morning. Hello all. I've got something interesting here. I put the Substack thing, as usual, links in the Dubris. Buy me a coffee. I've just met some warrior teacher perspective people from abroad. Fantastic. It was a great meeting. So if you want to come tonight, still time, let me know. Okay, so here we go. There's a magazine / website called Pulse, right? Okay. And when you go to it, it says at the top, this is intended for medical professionals only or health professionals only. In small letters. I don't know why. I mean, it's on the internet. People are going to read it. People like me, who aren't, I'm not a health professional. I know bugger all about half of what I'm talking about. Never stop me speaking. Right, okay, so, in the spirit of commenting on things that I don't understand, let's have a look at it. Right, so Pulse. This is quite interesting because it shows you how dangerous stuff can go on in the background. And this strikes me as quite dangerous stuff. So what Pulse is saying here, that they're talking about the CAS review and what happened with the first part of the CAS review. And the draft proposals, which, as you're aware, the draft proposals for the redesigned service by the NHS, right? And the fact that the NHS are going to be saying, we're not having Uncle Tom Cobley and all, meaning mermaids, gendered intelligence, school staff, voluntary organisations, affirming and telling children that they're a so-called trans child, when none of them have the qualifications to recognise the mental distress or mental problem that child has, each child who has this particular issue, which may have been thrust on them by other children, by the way. I'm seeing more evidence of this. They get bullied if they're not, non-binary. They get bullied by other kids. Right, that's happening. That's a thing. I've got direct reports of it, and I've seen the evidence. That's a thing. That's happening in schools. They're being bullied into being part of this cult. Teachers teaching this shit. It just, you make you wonder what's gone wrong with the world, doesn't it? Anyway, let's move on. Right, so currently, around 65% of referrals into kids are made by GPs. So it's generally the GP that makes the referral. It should be the GP that does it all the time. And lo and behold, that's exactly what's going to happen now. There's going to be some more gatekeeping. I mean, even if the GP's referred, there's going to be a triage. There's going to be enough. I mean, we need 4 or 5 slots on the way to get them out when they're not. They're just being forced to do it, or they think it's funny, or they think it's amusing, or they're LARPing to upset their parents, whatever it is that bloody kids do. So it's saying here that the BMA, the British Medical Association, warned that GPs are having to conduct extensive reviews for patients referred to the adult services to assist with extraordinary waiting lists. Well, that's good. It's not bad. So, one of the new aspects of this, the new changes of the apparently it's a controversial interim service. I sense ideological fealty behind this article. Controversial interim service will see GPs handed greater responsibility in the pathway amid major criticism from international healthcare professional body. WPATH have shown themselves to be nothing whatsoever in regards to being seen as an international healthcare professional body with involvement with eunuchs and other, I know you said bollocks, but of course that wouldn't sound right, would it? No. Right, so the draft specification, which is open for consultation until today, okay, comes in the wake of the CAS review and ongoing assessment of the current GIDS pathway, GIDS, right, run by the Tavistock and Portman, who are now going to be shut. Now, they're going to shut it, it's going to be discontinued, they're going to replace it with regional hubs, and people seem to be going, it's going to be all right, you can have regional hubs. No, we're looking at multidisciplinary teams, we're looking at social services, we're looking at referrals for safeguarding. This is going to be as tight as a frog's ass is watertight. This will be equally as tight as that frog's ass. Right? Okay, so no, it's not what you think it is. You don't go dancing around and prancing around going, yeah, we got there. You're not getting there. This is going to bring it to an end, I think, but that's just me. So, anyway, that's all been done. So they've gone to somebody for comment. Let's find out who this person is. Called Dr. Sam Hall, a GP partner in Brighton, who said the pathway should not be led by a medical doctor at all and should instead follow a biopsychosocial model. Sounding familiar? Biopsychosocial model with leadership drawn from experience in the community and voluntary sector. He means mermaids and stonewalls. She means mermaids and stonewalls. That's what she means. Mermaids and Stonewall. Right, so Mermaids and Stonewall should be running it, or somebody who thinks like they do. There's ideology coming in there. Right. She added, it says he here, by the way. She added that cutting the number of referrers will reinforce a gatekeeping approach to care. You damn gatekeeping, you bet. When it comes to children, there will be gatekeeping. It assumes that GPs and NHS professionals will compassionately understand their role in the pathway. It's got nothing to do with compassion, it's got to do with reality. We treat these people with compassion because these are children with very individualised problems. Or it might be just that they're gay, or they may have ADHD or autism. We know what comes with this. There'll be other comorbidities, abuse. This is a safeguarding issue, primarily. Dr. Hall, okay? The current statistics suggest that a small percentage are referred by people who are not an NHS professional or GP. Well, according to the current statistics in this article, 35% come from teachers and others, right? That's not a small statistic, Sam. Okay? That's a health crisis. 35% of young people going through this bloody service have been sent there by people who are not qualified to make any decisions around their mental health. This is what happens when you make a mental health issue into an issue of ideological, political, and cultural political correctness, right? A small percentage. 35% is not a small percentage. 1 in bloody 3. It says here, she then continues. This cohort are likely to be disadvantaged in the interim spec. Yeah, they aren't likely not to be disadvantaged at all. We're going to stop them from altering their bodies. We're going to stop them from thinking that they're something they're not. We're going to tell them that the world has, unfortunately, in the world, they have to live in reality. And we're going to do that by making every single incident where this occurs a safeguarding issue, so that social services get involved, so that people who do not have ideological belief systems racked into their brain by the education system will be able to make decisions for each child based on that child's need, that child's individualised care or distress. Not so that you can make yourself feel better about your ideological bum trumpetry. It is not acceptable to allow individuals to be denied access to services through lack of engagement with NH professionals or GPs when the reason for poor engagement might be the very thing help is being sought for. Please let mermaids get at them. Please let gendered intelligence get at. That's what they're saying. We're not having it. This is going to be absolutely kept as tight as that frog's bum, right? Dr. Claire Bannon from the British Medical Association, GP Committee Policy Lead for Healthcare Delivery, said, the BMA is committed to the equitable provision of healthcare to all patients and recognises, see, equity is where it works then, NHS, right? Equitable healthcare to all patients, and recognises that lack of access to appropriate services contributes to health inequality experienced by some trans patients who need to access gender dysphoria services. Now, according to the likes of Sam and Stonewall and all that lot, I imagine that they think that you don't have to have dysphoria to be trans. Gosh, right? And we know already, because all the evidence is there, that actually there are comorbidities in this concept of being trans, particularly in children and youth, is cobblers. It's a symptom. It's not the cause. The cause is something else. So Sam chips in again. Listen to Sam chipping in again, shall we? Currently, transgender children under 18 in England are able to access treatment via private services or via the NHS service, but some may access them online or from unregulated services. This is true, right? In latter cases, the interim specification advises GPs to initiate local safeguarding protocols. Thank goodness for that. Let's get back to this, which would include child protection services. Wallop! That'll deal with the homophobic Munchausen mothers, won't it? Or others who have reasons to hate gay or lesbian youth. And then the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, WPATH, an interdisciplinary professional body, said this charge would put GPs who understand the GID service has a lengthy waiting time at risk of censure for refusing to make such an inappropriate child protection referral. It's not an inappropriate child protection referral. If your child wants to remove bits from their body and can't live with the reality of the fact that they're male or female, that's one of the biggest safeguarding calls there is. There's a reason they did away with that idea. Being trans is not a safeguarding issue. Being gay is not a safeguarding issue. What's going to happen at most, right? What's going to happen at most? Time at the gym with other men? This is a safeguarding issue, okay? Inappropriate child. That's WPATH saying that. See, wonder what they're pushing and why. WPATH, we'll have a look at them, I think, in the future. I should be talking to a friend of mine about where it all started and how we got here. Dr. Hall said, it fails to give care. Then proposing punishment via safeguarding mechanisms is discriminatory. How can you see safeguarding mechanisms as punishment? Safeguarding mechanisms, this is queer theory. Safeguarding mechanisms as punishment. Are you insane? They're there to stop 13-year-old girls damaging themselves. They're there to stop young gay men from thinking that their sexuality makes them something perverse and that they therefore must become a woman. And they're there to prevent adults who have a vested interest from whatever ideological belief system they absolutely have to trans the gay away. And you think, Dr. Hall, is that what you think? Punishment? I sincerely hope not, Sam. I do honestly. It appears that GPs in particular are being threatened with sanctions via safeguarding. I know nothing about this. Has anybody said that GPs are going to be threatened with a sanction via safeguarding? What's being said is that if GPs do not follow safeguarding protocol, which the vast majority would at any rate, then that would be an issue. But that would be an issue for a GP at any rate. You don't get to opt out of what happens to everybody else. You are not a priestly class. And we're not setting you up as such. It says this creates an ethical dilemma which pits preserving a license to practice against proper care for a patient in dire straits. Dear God. What they're saying there, what Sam's saying there is affirm or else. Affirmation is the only way. Ideological capture. This woman's a GP. Patients do not seek unregulated care where there is an adequate provision in the system. Define adequate provision. You mean a provision that affirms? The provision wouldn't be so stuffed up with lunatics if schools hadn't been doing this. If the likes of Stonewall and Mermaids and those that you would support, Sam, had no access to children, this wouldn't be happening. Patients do not seek unregulated care where there is adequate provision. The adequate provision that's needed is mental health, not physical body adjustment. She then says, but there isn't. This would be similar to refusing to provide physiotherapy or other aftercare to a patient who could not wait to have their knee replacement in the NHS, so took steps to secure the surgery privately. What Sam is there saying is saying that if I went to the doctors and my knee's up, cock a hoop, I've got a bad knee, it's all a bit, spasmoidal, whatever they call it. Well, there's a word for it, isn't there? I don't know. And it wouldn't work and I found myself going around in circles when I had a glass of wine. You go, I can't get, it's only 2 years. I go, right, I'll pay for it. I'll get and pay for it. Here's a couple of grand, sort me knee out. Then the NHS would go, how's your knee? Right? And I'd go in and I'd have it looked up by the NHS because the knee needed the operation. You think that's the same? That it's the same that I would need physio for my knee after I'd had a private operation is the same as somebody who is paying privately without any gatekeeping or safeguarding whatsoever to remove breasts and genitals from children. You think that's the same? The CQC's inspection of the GID service, which is the Gender Identity Development Service, in October 2020, found there were 4,600 children and young people on the waiting list, with a wait time of over 2 years for the first appointment. Good. Right? These children should be helped to deal with what's going on in their mind. We should not be encouraging or affirming the idea of the trans identity, which is a falsehood based on the work of men from the 1950s and 60s. Money. Your money. Kinsey. What you're doing, Sam, as a doctor is saying, this is okay. And it's not, Sam. First you do no harm. We shall see what happens with Cass. We shall see, and we shall see what happens after that, because I'm concerned about the both sidisms that I'm seeing. There is no two sides to this. Gender identity must be eradicated as an idea, as a concept, as something that people have embraced. If they've embraced it, let's make it a belief system so that they can embrace it all they like, but it doesn't get to interfere in the lives of others. That's all it is a belief system. These people are unwell and they need the best care that we can provide. And that care will not and should not include any kind of surgical intervention. We know now that the dangers are too great. We know, or beginning to recognise, that what happens for the years afterwards is too high a price to pay, regardless of who you are. I wouldn't want to stop somebody who wanted to do it. If they're over 18 or pay for it, pay for it. Not one penny from the NHS. Not one. This is an unnecessary cosmetic surgery to deal with a debilitating mental problem. It's therapy that will do it. But of course, then you've got the 95% of the blokes who don't want to get rid of their tatchers. Wonder what that's about then. That's got nothing to do with it, has it, eh? When they get their tits off the NHS or they get their estrogen or whatever it is they want for their kicks. This is a magazine that's meant for medical practitioners, and it seems to me that they don't get it. Let's just hope that somebody does before it's too late. Anyway, that's enough of my wibbling. It's Sunday. Well, it is for you. I'm not here now. I've gone. This was pre-recorded. And now follows a pre-recorded announcement by Barry Wall. I'm Barry Wall, and I approve this message. That's just a little something there for my American viewers. I'm off because later on now, tonight, 7 o'clock, I'm going to meet lots of people from Europe and the UK, I hope, who are going to become warrior teachers, going to be coming joining us as part of the team. So listen, have a grand Sunday, and I'll be back with something else in the next couple of days. Bloody. Ugh.